Hey everybody, it's Tony George with Tony's Time, and we're in July, and we're talking NFL. A big, exciting August and September coming up for us. Hopefully, there's a lot of unknowns out there in the world of the NFL, and as we look into the future and speculate what the season will be, how the COVID-19 is going to affect everything, we've all got our fingers crossed, but as I did a video earlier this week, as I bring on Doug Upstone to talk about the AFC and some of his divisional picks with a little different twist than what you might be aware of. Doug, they always say back in the Boy Scout days, always be thrifty, always be reverent, kind, and always be prepared. So I'm preparing for the NFL season right now and doing some futures, and we're talking some AFC futures, Doug, and a little different twist for you as everybody wants to talk about who's going to win the divisions, the individual divisions in the NFL. You're kind of looking at who might finish second, and you've got some very unique perspective and picks here when you're looking at these NFL futures.
Well, with everything that's gone on, Tony, and especially when this all fell apart in March, is that the sports books had to get creative. They had no sports for anybody to bet on, especially initially. So, they went to work, and I give them, hats off, to coming up and doing some unique things. And so I came across some of this stuff, and it made a lot of sense to me. And so I thought, okay, well, let's break some of these things down within the NFL according to specific divisions. And as opposed to just picking winners, it's about picking placement of where a team could potentially finish. And that's what I came up with. And so, going, like I said, a little different direction, but I think it's fun. Again, something different, something that's thought provoking, something you got to look at it in a little bit different way. I like it a lot. I know. Hats off to the sports books. Nice job.
That's the horse handicapper in you. You're not only betting to win, you're betting place and show, baby. And
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. And we're getting into the AFC in the East, North, South, and then the West. And, of course, for everybody looking, just so you know, that's right, I'm a Kansas City boy, so I got on my Super Bowl hat for the show today. And we've got a Super Bowl quarterback that just got paid $450 million up front, potentially up to $503 million. Before we get to this real quick, Doug, your thoughts on that contract with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City? I don't know how we're going to put anybody else in the field, but we definitely wrapped up the best quarterback right now in the NFL for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I have no problem on the money side. Okay, if they didn't think he was worth it, they wouldn't pay him. Okay, so
right.
That's not, so whatever it is, it's not his fault that they decided to pay him to do that. Now, a 10-year deal, it's a long time. Okay, a lot of things can change, a lot of things can happen, but there are some outs in that contract along the way for both parties. So, and Patrick Mahomes might go five years or so, maybe 4, and he could get his contract reconstructed and maybe even make more money, or maybe he just would want to move on. And same if he got hurt, let's say he had separated his shoulder, it became a real issue in terms of arm strength, Kansas City can walk away from it as well. I have a question for you though, Tony. What about if they force the issue to change the name of the Chiefs? That to me would be something.
Well, I have my own personal opinions about all these name changes and this, that, and the other, but I'm going to keep politics out of it. But I've been a Chiefs fan since I was knee-high to a grasshopper growing up in Lincoln, Nebraska, and living there 20-some-odd years before I lived in Kansas City for 11. So I've just got way too much money invested in Chiefs paraphernalia to start buying new stuff. Put it that way. Oh, I'll leave it at that. Speaking of the AFC here, let's get to the AFC East here. Obviously, the big news in the AFC East is the signing of Cam Newton at the New England Patriots in the offseason, which I don't think Steedham was going to be able to carry them very far. I don't know how that blend is going to work with Bill Belichick, with kind of a prima donna player that is injury prone the last 3 or 4 years of his career and has been on the downside of his career in terms of his skill sets and what he's displayed. But that's not the subject that we're talking about here. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills here, plus 135 for first and plus 220 for second in this division. I want you to know right up front, and Doug and I did a video, a Tony's Time video not too long ago, as we broke down some of the best bets we thought was in week 1 of the NFL. And on that video, I talked about my futures bet in the AFC East, and I got Buffalo plus 135 to win it. Pardon me, plus 145 to win it at the time. And I went ahead and put 5 Bills on that. I think this is a team that could have easily advanced in the playoffs last year. They lost to Houston in a heartbreaker in the postseason. And Allen at quarterback here, but you seem to be high on Buffalo here for first and or second in this division, Doug.
Yeah, I definitely am, Tony. I think they're an improved team. I'm not really sold on Josh Allen. He's a leader more than he is a great quarterback. Now his running skills speak for themselves. This will be a key year. And I put down first and second, and the reason that I did is that Buffalo had some defensive losses due to free agency. I'm not sure that those are immediately filled. There's no question New England is going to be weaker. So from that standpoint, I don't mind making both bets at plus 135 to win or plus 220 for second. Either way, if I hit one or the other, I won some money. So that's the direction I'm going with them, with with Buffalo, on either or both bets on that one.
Plus 220 for second's a really good number, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think that the Jets or the Dolphins are going to seriously contend. And I think that's just easy pick. If all the picks you're going to be given today, I think that would be the best bet. I went ahead and stuck it out there for first, but for second, plus 220. You never know what Bill Belichick's got up his sleeve. He's done more with less. And I know he's had Tom Brady, but he's brought in players that nobody else would take a look at, nobody else would draft, nobody else would put on their scout team, nobody else would pick up a free agency, and he plugs them in different games and different scenarios, and the guys shine like superstars, and he wins games doing it. He's one of the, whether you like him or you don't like him, it's kind of like Kyle Busch in NASCAR. It's the guy you love to hate. He's not real popular with the general fan base, but you have to respect his ability, and that is Bill Belichick. And so for that reason, I think Buffalo plus 220 for second in this division is good. And I do agree with you on Allen, a quarterback, other than the fact when the game comes down to the very end, it seems like this kid keeps his head and he makes plays when he has to win them ball games. And for a young guy, that is extremely impressive. So that being said, let's switch gears to the AFC North and the Pittsburgh Steelers here. For second place, you have them at 175. Along with one thing I do want to make comment on, obviously everybody's going to be high on Baltimore, obviously. And that would be my Gardner leaf blowing behind me right now as you hear that. We're not in a studio, we're live video podcasting here. But nonetheless, one thing about the AFC North here, the Baltimore Ravens have the easiest schedule in the NFL, which is giving them a huge boost up in the win-loss category this year, and they're talented already. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are sitting like third easiest schedule in the NFL, so they're not going to be getting beat up with a real tough schedule. And I think the Steelers flying a little bit under the radar, Doug.
Yeah, in this case, I mean, you could take Baltimore, that'd be easy. But you got to bet, for example, you got to bet $180 to win 100. Okay,
right?
That's, from the standpoint of money management, that yes, it's potentially an easy win. But Lamar Jackson gets hurt, a couple of injuries go, all of a sudden things could change. It's the NFL, Tony. We know that things could change in a hurry. So, and looking at this one, the Ravens you leave alone. Then you got Cleveland and you have Pittsburgh. Now, Ben Roethlisberger, no question, he's aging. He's coming off major surgery. However, Pittsburgh is now built around defense and running the ball. They've upgraded their receiving core. The Cleveland Browns are on their third head coach in 3 years. Okay, where are they going to go? Do they have some talent? Yes. Can they finish second? Yes. Do I think they will? No. Let's take Pittsburgh plus 175 for second place.
You got to wonder if Roethlisberger can play 16 games in a season at his age, because he's been out every year. He's out 3 or 4 games. And don't get me wrong, he's a tough mofo. I mean, he'll take a lot of punishment. He stands in the pocket, delivers strikes, takes the punishment to do it. My question is, just quickly, we're going to start this thing called fact or fiction with Doug Upstone and I down the road here on these Tony Times. Fact or fiction? Mike Tomlin's a great football coach.
I would say fact. Okay. Great's an interesting word, or an interesting choice of words. Let's put it this way. Do I think that Mike Tomlin is a top 5 NFL coach? I actually do. I wouldn't put him 1, 2, or 3, but if I said a top 5, I would put him in that category. Again, I think the team, not unlike almost any team that has an older quarterback, you got to change it up. And that's what Pittsburgh has done. They have gone more towards running the ball and defense. It is no longer going to be about Ben Roethlisberger having to throw the ball 35 or 40 times a game. Will he be asked to at certain points? Yes, because of the situation. But the team is not designed for that anymore. And I just don't trust Cleveland. So that's the reason for my pick. And to answer your question again, yes, I put Tomlin in there as a first-rate football coach.
Well,
how about you?
I call it fiction. I'd say he's probably top 10. I think that Mike Tomlin is as good as what his coordinators on offense and defense are. That's what I think about Mike Tomlin. I think he's a little bit overrated, but we're going to find out this year, because he's going to have to do some coaching, because and he has an opportunity to do so because he's got a weak schedule, and the only team in his division he needs to really worry about. And we'll see what Cleveland does, because they're another head coach, another year of uncertainty there. But Cincinnati's breaking in a rookie quarterback and a new coaching system there. So this for plus 175 at second should be a good one. I don't think if Baltimore stays healthy, there's going to be too many teams in the AFC that can beat them, including my Kansas City Chiefs. So we're just going to wait and find out there. Speaking of Kansas City Chiefs, one of their opponents that blew a huge lead against Kansas City in the playoffs out of the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans, come back pretty much intact, Doug. Plus 175 for first and plus 165 for second, and what I think is going to be a very competitive division, depending on what Phillip Rivers does with the Colts, because the Colts got a strong team across the board this year.
Yeah, they're strong, generally speaking, across the board, and obviously they feel they're just a quarterback away from winning the division. I'm just not sure this is the right guy. Speaking of aging quarterbacks, Phillip Rivers certainly fits that mold. I look at Indianapolis. I don't see the receiving talent that Rivers had with the Chargers. He has a very good offensive line. He's got a very good running game in front of him. Those are all positives, but he still throws the ball around carelessly. And his arm strength, as you probably have noticed, and this has been the case in the last 3 years, in the second half of the season, and this pops up all the time on aging quarterbacks, is their arm gets weaker in the second half of the season. They're just not able to maintain that strength. And so I think that's what's going to hinder Indianapolis, going forward. Do I think Indianapolis could finish second? Yes. Houston, I got no idea what's going on in Houston. Bill O'Brien as a general manager, he's certainly far better as a coach than he is as a general manager. Let's put it that way. And then and the Jacksonville, as Dan Patrick used to say, Jaguars, they're waiting just to fire their coach sometime during the course of the season or at the end of the season. So by default, a lot of talent on Tennessee, especially on offense. They have some defensive weaknesses for sure, but I don't have any problem taking them for first or second in the division, and we got pretty good odds at plus 175 for first and plus 165 for second.
Yeah, they can pound the rock. You take a look at that division. The Jacksonville Jaguars are dead last at 70-1 to win the AFC Championship, and then you've got Houston Texans at 25-1. and then the Colts at 12-1 and the Titans at 14-1. So it's going to be a coin flip between those two. I would bet either one of those because they're going to finish first or second in that division, running away with it as far as I'm concerned. And I think that they got a great coaching staff there as well. Vendel's, he's done a nice job. And Vrabel's done a nice job there, and I think he will continue. And they play a good – you can tell he's a Belichick disciple. Good, solid, balanced attack, runs the ball if he can, and plays sound defense, and they have great special teams. I mean, this is a very good football team that's coming back basically intact. And bear in mind, they could pound the rock, and they will, period. This is a good, smash-mouth, black and blue football team. You could substitute all these guys into Chicago Bears uniforms back in the 60s and 70s, and they'd fit right into that good old smash mouth, old-fashioned, old-school football. And I think that's going to bode well for them. And I do think that Phillip Rivers, despite Indianapolis having one of the best offensive lines of football, I still don't think the protection factor is going to help him. His arm strength's not what it was, and he loves to throw into double coverage and try and squeeze him in there, and the turnover ratio. You know, being a Kansas City Chiefs fan and an AFC West fan, I'm going to miss having him around because we were able to cherry pick that guy and win a lot of games off of him. But nonetheless, speaking of the AFC West, Doug, an interesting pick from you here. You're going all in the AFC West, only one team for second place, and that would be the Las Vegas Raiders, who invade my town I live in right now. I'm an endangered species out here in Las Vegas, myself and Mrs. George, with all the Chiefs swag that we have and wear proudly as returning Super Bowl champions. But you're having to be big on these guys this year to go second in this division over the Denver Broncos, who are going to run Drew Lock up the pole this year for an entire season and see what he does. And, of course, you got Mahomes, quarterback there in Kansas City. And, of course, Tyrod Taylor is going to try and do a Patrick Mahomes impression down in, San Diego, now the L.A. Chargers, who I think have quarterback problems. But you seem to be high on Vegas here. Derek Carr and the boys opening up here in Las Vegas, going to make a run for the division title this year.
I don't know about the division title, but certainly for second place, because there's Kansas City far and away, okay, is the best team. There's no doubt about it. Okay, so now we're looking at the other three teams. If you look at a lot of, let's just say, other so-called experts and in a lot of different areas, everybody's really high on Drew Lock and Denver. Okay. Drew Lock, maybe I'm just holding on to what I saw at Missouri. I saw a talented player who just always wasn't dialed in. The arm strength is there. I just don't know if he mentally is going to be there. I could be wrong. Okay. Denver might finish second this year in that division. I don't see where their talent necessarily is better than either the Chargers or the Raiders. So that plays into it. Tyrod Taylor, I think with the Chargers, that kind of speaks for itself. If the Chargers are 500, I think that would be a good season for them. I don't know that they're going to get there. I'm looking at Vegas, though, okay? And I should say Las Vegas. With the Raiders, the pride and poise and all that other stuff that they had over the years, their roster has definitely improved since they've made the changes. So that, they've upgraded under John Gruden. They're going to be excited, of course, to be there. Not that the fan base in Oakland wasn't great, but there's going to be a new energy. They're going to be in a stadium, Tony, to where when they walk in, they're not going to see rats, okay, like they did in Oakland. They're also going to be able to, if they're allowed to take a shower with actual warm, maybe even hot water, something that was also rarely available at Oakland. So I think this team is going to be rallied around the situation. Is this team anything better than 9-7? I don't think so. But in this division, 9-7 can certainly be good enough to finish second. And that's why I'm going with the Raiders plus the 250 to finish in second place behind your Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, well, Chiefs, just to win the AFC West, the odds, Chiefs are minus 455. And the next closest, Broncos and Chargers are both at plus 900, and the Las Vegas Raiders at 1100, Doug. So you're catching some value here at plus 250 for second in this division. I think that the Chargers are in big trouble. And Tyrod Taylor, he gets a lot of hype. He starts out the season, he likes to run the ball, he gets banged up. And then you may be able to see Justin Herbert, the kid out of Oregon, who was the big first-round draft pick for these guys. If they struggle, they're going to put him in there at some point in time and continue to struggle with a rookie quarterback. So that kind of may take them out of play. I'm a little concerned about Denver for second in this division because Drew Lock, I watched him play all 4 years at Missouri when I lived in Kansas City, saw him playing a lot of games live, and I saw him play at Lee Summit West in high school in Kansas City when he was a man amongst boys against any other player in the entire high school ranks in Kansas City. Set a lot of SEC records. He reminds me a little bit of Jay Cutler sometimes, in the fact he kind of got a one-off kind of demeanor, and doesn't seem focused all the time and doesn't really, to me, have the eye of the tiger. And I've seen this in college and I've seen this in the NFL a little bit. And that concerns me a little bit with them. And that may be their demise, especially if confidence gets low. But he's dug up Stone. He likes the Las Vegas Raiders for second in the AFC West for plus 250. Tennessee, he says you can flip-flop first or second. 175 for first and 165 for second in the South. The Pittsburgh Steelers. And one of Doug's favorite top 5 coaches, Mike Tomlin, at plus 175 for second. And one I do wholeheartedly agree with the bet on both sides of this in the AFC East. Plus 135 for the Buffalo Bills for first in this division and plus 220 for second, which in my opinion of all these is Doug's best bet here. I really like that, to cover your backside when you're double betting that, Doug. And be sure and tune in to DocSports.com. Take advantage of that free $60. Get yourself ready for some Major League Baseball, some NBA, and some NFL. And don't forget to tune into the next Tony's Time where we talk about the NFC. Same program. We're looking at first and seconds in that as well with Doug Upstone.